Good morning, everyone. Good morning, guys. Good morning. Good morning, guys. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Okay. All right, we're seeing the NASDAQ holding support bit. The IWM is at 175-ish support area, 174.90. It's very important. This could most likely be a good spot to buy the dip. The NASDAQ just flipped to green, made a huge green candle, made a new high of day. Hmm. IWM making new lows. NASDAQ just failed at the high. Good morning. Good morning. Hmm. Let's just be patient. I'm gonna. This definitely looks like it should be bouncing, but this is a really ugly setup that we have here right now. 436.60 is major resistance. Let's see if they can get some buyers to step in here. This is usually a pretty bullish setup. Should be bouncing, but right now the price action is really choppy. IWM getting close to a new low of day. NASDAQ at its highs, but it's failing here. All right, I'm in light SPY calls with this is really light risky trade with a low day stop. Really light and risky trade. I want to see if buyers can step in here. Usually it leads to a big rip to the upside, but we're seeing weakness, so this is why it's risky. Yeah, all right, never mind. I'm just gonna sell it. This is starting to get a little messy. Yeah, that didn't work. Let's see. That buyers didn't want to step in over there. NASDAQ has support at 370.86. So I don't like, even if we did make a new low here, I wouldn't want to go long here because still the momentum is still clearly bearish. So if this setup where I initially thought we were going to be bullish, if that didn't work, then going down here, this is like still clear bearish momentum. So still not that safe to try to enter long down here when we made that new low. I would rather wait for us to get closer to a level of support, because we could easily just slide lower again with the setup like this. This once again, this setup just now should rip, and it should continue to rip, but we're gonna see if they could maintain it. That's the main thing. So right now we're seeing like glimpses of we're only seeing glimpses of bullish setup working out. The bearish setups are extremely bearish right now because there's a lack of buyers at this, like this high up on the SPY after a big move like this. That's why there aren't that many buyers like keeping the market up, etc., etc. Like having like these 50 cent or $1 moves. is because, like, you know, buyers stepped in and did this around 430, 427. Up here, there is a lack of buyers. That's why a lot of these bullish setups, for example, this was another really, really good bullish setup, but it seems like it didn't work out. And maybe it will, but the first one where we initially went long, that was a really good bullish setup. That didn't work out. This one is also a pretty good bullish setup, but purely because of where we are right now in the cycle of like the bounce, in terms of how far we bounced and how many days. Because we're at like the tail end where things should have a bit of a pause or a bit of a pullback. That's why that's the primary reason why right now like these bullish setups aren't like skyrocketing, where generally they would. So we have to be careful about trying to take something unless it's at like a perfect level of support or something where it's like really safe. Because once again, so this was a really good bullish setup. It ended up making a new low. And it just goes to show, like right now, there just aren't that many buyers willing to step in up here above 435, you know, because the risk reward, because 437 is a major level of resistance, right? So when you already have a big move to the upside already, we moved from 421 up to 435 in a few days, right? When that's the case, there's only so much more reward to the upside right now. So if there's a resistance at 437 and there's resistance at 440, right? So the risk reward for going long right now is very, very low in the eyes of these you know, banks and funds. Let's see. CPI data came pretty much in line with expectations. So yesterday, it just felt like everything was basically just, or the day before also, it just felt like everything was bouncing. Like the dips were being bought, everything was just skyrocketing. Here, it just feels deflated. So it's sort of like the opposite. This is also a really good bullish setup, just, you know, for education's sake. This would normally hold and it would rip. So this would be like the third really good bullish setup that occurred. This was the first, it didn't work out, we sold. This was the second. This also didn't work out, we made a new low. And this is the third so far. So this, I'd be very surprised if they don't allow it to break back above. Okay. Massive, massive red candle. As soon as we get some sort of, you know, hmm. Not looking great. Like, yeah, so far, guys, right now, like a lot of decent bullish setups so far haven't worked, and the things that are working are not decent bearish setups. But once again, like 100% based off of this red candle that just appeared, um, you would have to go like you would want to wait for a bounce higher so you could go short, and if it makes another high, you have to lean short. But yeah, this is just post CPI data, money funneling around, just indecision, money funneling around. The yields are doing really well. They're bouncing. The 10-year yield is doing really well. Let me see, 20. The 20 is also doing well, and the 30 also doing well. Let's see, 2-year. Yeah, all the yields are doing really well. So that's obviously bearish for the market. Let me see the Fed watch tool. Yeah, so CPI data came in a bit higher, like almost in line, but a bit higher than expected, and the percentage of a hike increased as well. So yeah, so far we've seen multiple good bullish setups so far just not being followed through. Just buyers don't want to step in here. Basically it seems. NASDAQ is still holding the low of day. But the IWM is taking the biggest hit, which is causing the SPY to take a big hit. Hmm. Wow. Almost every really good bullish setup has just been sold off. This would be the fourth. Hmm. So the issue is that these were just not really good. These weren't super safe shorting opportunities. That's the only issue. Yeah, we were making new lows, but these are not These were not opportunities with high quality shorting setups. A lot of the moves that we saw, the little pops, they should have popped a little higher. Those would have been safer shorting opportunities. So for example, this setup right here, it should have bounced a little bit higher, and then shorting over here would have been much safer. Same over here. This should have bounced a little bit higher. This would have been the safer opportunity to short. So they're not really giving the safer opportunities to short or anything. They're rewarding people that get in. They're rewarding like very aggressive bears that are getting in early into the shorts. So they've, you know, that's not something that you can sustainably do as a trading strategy. Because if you try to get in early all the time, then you're always early to the trade and it'll go in the opposite direction. So days like today, you know, they reward people that are more aggressive to one side. But you can't, you know, sustainably trade like that on a day-to-day basis. There will be less like volatility tomorrow. Not even volatility. There'll just be better like trade setups and everything that show up tomorrow, because right now we just had CPI data release. So a lot of money and everything is like funneling around. But after CPI data gets released, the day afterward usually it gets better. Um, this is the normal Bollinger Band settings. Yeah, so this was the fifth good bullish setup that they tried to paint, and then eventually, on the fifth try, they finally got it to bounce. So that's what I mean. Like sometimes trading is it's a numbers game. You just have to keep on taking shots. But this, it was by the time you got down to the fifth try, you would have lost five trades. So today was just abnormally weak at first. Like a lot of the weakness was due to CPI data being a bit, it was twofold. One, because we had a face ripping rally for the past few days. We had a very big move overall on the daily chart. We had a very big move. And then number two, we just had CPI data. So that had to be the main reason why we were failing that much. Generally, we get a good bounce after the third or the fourth. So after the third or the fourth new leg down, that's when we generally get a bounce. But today it took 5. And you know, it was because of those two reasons that I just explained. Yeah, hopefully as the morning goes on, as the afternoon gets on, after Europe closes, hopefully it'll get better. But I'm expecting today to be a bit of um like an inside day. Nothing too crazy. It shouldn't make, basically we have a range between 433 and 437. So I'm expecting us to stay within this range. Usually what's been happening is if the market for the first like half hour is very, very aggressive or something like that, you give it 30 minutes. You give it 30 minutes or an hour, the market starts acting normally again. And then it's just very fluid. So that's what's basically been happening these past few days, especially. So let's see if it starts acting fluid maybe in another 30 minutes or an hour. But right now, like it's in response to what was going on in the past few days, as well as CPI data this morning, and that's not helping. So hopefully it gets a bit more fluid as the day goes on, but it'll definitely get better tomorrow. After CPI, the day after CPI. So, for example, over here, you couldn't go long here, but they rewarded people that were the same way that they were earlier. They were rewarding people that were just going short. At the first instance of a level of resistance, they just rewarded people that were getting in early, uh, into the short, right? This is not really a safe long. It would have been better if there was a retest to a prior level of resistance and then going long. But this is some interesting price action so far. Mm, 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 mm. How is this starting to look on a daily? Starting to paint a red candle on the daily, right at resistance, right below Tuesday's high. On a daily, this still looks like it could still break. Like we have major resistance at 437.70. That's the thing. So right now on the SPY, 437.70 is major resistance. So unless we get like an aggressive amount of buyers to break above that level today, we have today and tomorrow basically to break above that level. But the level that we need to hold above today is going to be 434. So I would say 434 needs to hold the support. And that 437.70 level is resistance. Interesting little position to be in here. So in hindsight, the one mistake as we were bouncing down here, the one mistake was that as we saw the SPY make a new low here and it was starting to show some weakness, we saw the NASDAQ. So the NASDAQ was not making new lows. The SPY was making new lows. So as the NASDAQ was making, it was ranging, was holding support, it ended up comfortably closing at, if you just look at your charts right now, it comfortably closed at 10:04 above VWAP. So once the NASDAQ closed above its range and above VWAP, that was like, generally that's, I would go super, I would get a bit aggressive over there. And that's if you look at 10:04 on the NASDAQ and 10:04 on the SPY, because of that strength out of the NASDAQ, it was holding that strength the entire time. That could have essentially been next time essentially that happens, if this entire situation on the SPY, NASDAQ, the SPY is happening again, if one indice is ranging and it closes comfortably above VWAP when it didn't before, then that is a really big bullish sign. I hope what I'm saying is making sense, but essentially, just look at the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ was basically holding support the entire time. Once it broke above that range, it didn't matter about the weakness in the IWM or the SPY or anything like that, because the NASDAQ was the issue. The NASDAQ was the reason why it bounced. But yeah, hopefully tomorrow we get a bit more fluid in the in price action. Right now, you have to go light and basically try to get things perfect. And they're also just forcing you to be a bit aggressive. But hopefully, as we get later on in the day, the movement in the market becomes a bit more like stabilized and more predictable and less aggressive. So for now, I'm gonna go ahead and call it a day. Hopefully in the next few hours is gonna be some good trade setups. If there are better trade setups that aren't like aggressive or that have like a lot of follow through, because hopefully the goal is we get some setups like this again. So let's see. All right, but for now, it doesn't make sense to sit here and try to get chopped out. So for now, we could, I could just, yeah, no, I'm just gonna call it a day, and then there are better setups if there are any swings. But basically, the main two levels are 434 to the downside as support, and then 437. So 434 and 437.70. Those are the two main levels of support, all right, and resistance. So yeah, gonna go ahead and call it a day. Hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Don't get chopped out. And yeah, with that being said, take care. Have a good one. Love you guys. Take care. Have a good one.